Now, also I've seen what happens is that as we begin to forgive ourselves, a very natural remorse comes up for things that have happened. And that has a real purity to it, and that has its own intelligence. It's not a self-aversive remorse. It's kind of a healing remorse, an energy that wants to extend in prayer or action in some healthy way. And so I want to speak to that because it's a lot of the Christian and Jewish sense of atonement is in that we make a kind of reconciliation with God and with ourselves and with soul, with each other, whatever we want to think about it, that self-forgiveness isn't the end. It's like it's part of a process whereby we take away the second arrow and open up our hearts and then naturally want to make amends where we can. Naturally. Not to be a good person, but just because we care. So a story, maybe my last story for tonight, that I included in True Refuge on this, comes from a reading that was from the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Collection. And some of you might have seen it. It's called Offerings at the Wall. So this is one reading from Offerings at the Wall. Dear Sir, for 22 years I've carried your picture in my wallet. I was only 18 years old that day we faced each other on the trail in Chu Lai, Vietnam. Why you didn't take my life, I'll never know. You stared at me so long, armed with your AK-47, and yet you didn't fire. Forgive me for taking your life. I was reacting just the way I was trained to kill VC. So many times over the years I've stared at your picture and your daughter. I suspect each time my heart and guts would burn with the pain of guilt. I have 2 daughters of my own now. I perceive you as a brave soldier defending his homeland. Above all else, I can now respect the importance life held for you. I suppose that's why I'm able to be here today. It is time for me to continue the life process and release the pain and guilt. Forgive me, sir. So you can feel that the wholesomeness of that remorse, that he cared, he's expressing his care. Well, I shared this some years ago, and I found out that wasn't the end of the story. The vet's name was Luttrell, and he wrote this letter. He left it at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, along with the photograph. It got into the book. But then it turns out that somebody found it and it made its way back to him. So he decided he was going to go to Vietnam and see if he could find the daughter. Okay. And so this journey, he set off on his journey, and he was able to locate the little girl in the snapshot, the daughter of the man he had killed so many years ago, and he wanted to give her back the photo of her father. So here she is, a 40-year-old woman, and he's there, and through an interpreter he introduces himself. He says, tell her this is the photo I took from her father's wallet the day I shot and killed him, and I'm returning it. And with a cracking voice, he then asked for her forgiveness. After an awkward moment, Lon burst into tears and fell into his arms, and there the two held each other up, sobbing and embracing. Her brother was there, and he told them that they both believed that their father's spirit lived on in this man, in Richard Luttrell. And it might sound superstitious, but they said that was the day their father's spirit came back to them. So I find that really touches me deeply, that it's such a beautiful example of, he killed somebody. I mean, when we think, well, what would be unforgivable? Well, usually we think, well, in war it's forgivable because we're told to do it, but still, he's a human who was facing another human, and if you strip away all the culture and all that, this is what happened, and yet it was conditioned. It was a conditioned way of being. We're all conditioned. It's not our fault. And if we can say it's not our fault and have the courage to then feel what's actually going on inside us, we'll come to a place of an awake heart that can then respond to ourselves and the world in a way that's actually healing. We can reach out. Every one of us carries the conditioning of our ancestors. We all have this reptilian brain and mammalian brain. We're programmed to fight and flee. We're in a culture that's speedy and greedy and beyond the lottery story. It's all about, money. We can see how much over-consuming is going on. We're surrounded by it. We're fed it. Genes, what happened in our childhood. So this is part of why I really like having this Leaning Buddha here, is I think we need to be reminded regularly, we all are conditioned. We're all imperfect. We have it's part of our wiring to then turn on ourselves, and it's part of our capacity to see that and out of wisdom say no more second arrow. I want to embrace this life. And that means we have to start with the life that's right here. In the Zen tradition, the phrase is for freedom to be without anxiety about imperfection. Can you just, for a moment, just imagine, just sense, so what would that be like in this moment? Just bring it into the moment. What would it be like to be without anxiety about imperfection? There's a radical, radiant freedom that can burst forth when we really take away the second arrows and let this life just live itself. Spirit can shine through. Okay, so we'll do our final little meditation, if you will. Some of you already have your eyes closed, but just a short guided meditation and then we'll close. Closing the eyes and smiling into the eyes. Slight smile at the mouth. And smiling into the heart. You might sense from the inside out a smile naturally unfolding, spreading through the chest. And to sense if within you can feel that sincere intention to hold this life in a forgiving heart. And if there's something sticky right now, some place where you feel caught, where you're down on yourself, to just bring that intention there, so that even if you can't this moment do the letting go, that there's a sincerity that that's the path you're on. That alone, just to have the intention to forgive, opens the door and lets the light shine through. Cassia Berman writes, "The Mother of the Universe refuses to let me worship her outside myself anymore. She's withdrawn inside me and tells me if I want to know her, I have to come inside too, which is the last place I want to be." Although she's been telling me this for years, she's never gone to this extreme before of actually hiding inside me. If I want to love her, I can only do it by loving myself now. We close tonight with a simple prayer, just to honor this longing within each of our hearts to love without holding back. Love this life without holding back. To have the courage to forgive, to let go of where we habitually close down, and to open our hearts, our minds, our beings to life within us and around us, that all beings might be filled with loving kindness, held in loving kindness, that these lives may be lived from loving kindness. May all beings everywhere awaken and be free. Namaste.